This movement has meant a lot to the international community. There was also something about the Saudi game that had much more than the first Dallo podcast. Hello and welcome to the first Dallo News podcast. Every fourth week of the month, we came with the Dallo News about what happened that month in Somalia and around the world. In short, Dallo News every fourth week in the month. The December meeting was over the member states and federal government will sit at a table, but there will be a kind of December meeting, but then in Mogadishu. That and everything around it, you know if you've seen the short report.
The December meeting is very special because the last time that happened was 1 year ago. This meeting was that the federal government and the federal member state must choose a model for the Somalia elections planned in 2021. But this federal government has already invited the federal member states to come to Mogadishu. But this request was denied by Puntland and Jubilant, who said the
This movement has meant a lot to the international community. There was also something about the Saudi game that had much more than the first Dallo podcast. Hello, welcome to this podcast of Dallo News in a new design and studio. Here are the headlines. December free meeting. University fees started fine. And Ahmed Madogo operated in Nairobi. This was the third December meeting. But it was different because the leaders of Puntland, Said Abdullahi Deni and Jubilant Ahmed Mohamed Islam were not there. Here's a short report on the third December meeting. The December 3 meeting was different from the December 2nd meeting because the leaders of Puntland, Said Abdullahi Deni and Jubilant This meeting has meant a lot to the international community. There was also something about the Saudi game that had much more than the first Dallo podcast. Hello and welcome to the first Dallo News podcast. Every fourth week of the month, we came with the Dallo News about what happened that month in Somalia and around the world. In short, Dallo News, every fourth week in the month. The Dutch meeting was that all federal member states and federal government will sit at a table, but there will rather be a kind of Dutch meeting, but then in Mogadishu. That and everything around it you know if you have seen this short report.
The Dutch meeting is very special because the last time that happened was 1 year ago. This meeting was that the federal government and the federal member state must choose a model for the Somali elections planned in 2021. But this federal government has already invited the federal member states to come to Mogadishu. But this request was denied by Puntland and Jubilant, who said the meeting would be necessary to pursue the federal member states so that Somalia could extend his office term illegally. But Government President Gorgor has managed to bring all federal member states together to discuss the Somalia's federal elections. Hassan Ali Khair and Mohamed Abdullahi Farmajo also came later. When they did not succeed to choose a model for the Somali elections, Farmajo is for one vote system and Hassan Ali Khair for elections done on time. But some say one vote cannot be done this year and say Somalia needs another 2 years to prepare. Farmajo and Hassan Ali Khair has developed a gap that can cause great tension for the Nabal Ionol supporters. But more about that later. There will be a second Dusmara meeting on Saturday, August 15. Dallo News report it in late August.
Somaliland and Taiwan has had a good friendship since this month. Both countries are not recognized by the United Nations. The two countries both want recognition from the international community. Taiwan has a plan to build a military base in Somaliland. China and Somalia are upset over the friendships between the two countries. Hassan Ali Khair was fired last Saturday to a motion. The Parliament of Somalia no longer wanted him, Hassan, because he was against that Farmajo can extend the term by 2 more years. And Saudi King Salman bin Abdul Aziz Al Saud got well after he got a bladder infection and was rushed to hospital in Riyadh. He is better now, but many people, including his son Mohammed bin Salman, have spent a lot of time on the phone calling how things are going. Well, this was Dallo News. Next month we are back. I wish you a good day and see you next month. Fine, and Ahmed Madogo operated in Nairobi. This was the third Dutch meeting, but it was different because the leaders of Puntland, Said Abdullahi Deni and Jubilant Ahmed Mohamed Islam were not there. Here's a short report on the third Dismlab meeting.
The Dismlab 3 meeting was different from the Dismlab second meeting because the leaders of Puntland, Said Abdullahi Dani and Jubilant Ahmed Mohamed Islam, boycotted the talks, describing the meeting as unconstitutional. They accused Somali President Mohamed Abdullahi Farmajo of lying and not keeping the agreements of the second Dismlab meeting. Kamerdoeg President Ahmed Gorgor, Southwest Abdi Aziz Laftagarin, Isabella Mohamed Abdiwari and Mogadishu Mayor Omar Mahmoud Finish were at the talks. That agreed that the districts elect the parliamentarians and the parliamentarians then elect a president. But the US Embassy in Mogadishu said Puntland and Jubilant must approve the deal. President Mohamed Abdullahi Farmajo is still seeking on-term extension and is receiving help from Qatar. There were also rumors that Qatar tried to bribe former Prime Minister Hassan Ali Ghada, but Hassan refused that. The term of the current government expires in November this year.
The explosion that happened in Lebanon's capital Beirut was great. Many people are angry with the government because they had fireworks in their gate which exploded. The damage was big and the Lebanon's prime minister has resigned. Satellite channels Universal TV and Star TV were fined $2,000 for not broadcasting the speech of the Somaliland's president Musa Abdi but Somalia's president Mohamed Abdullahi Farmajo. Jubilant leader Ahmed Mohamed Islam Adobe has been operated on in Kenya's capital, Nairobi. The Jubilant administration does not want to say why he has been operated. Some fake Madobe's health has deteriorated. And now, short news. In Mogadishu this month there were 4 attacks. One was which at the popular Elite Hotel. Al-Shabaab has response for the attacks. The United Arab Emirates recognize Israel as a country. The UAE says they want peace in the Middle East. The Palestinians see this as a betrayal. And now the weather. Tomorrow it will be 28 degrees with a thunderstorm, and next week it will be about 24 to 28 degrees. Then this was Dallo News for this month. Next month we are back. I wish you a nice day and see you next month.
Welcome to the September 2020 Dallo News podcast, and here comes the headlines. Somalia election process part 1. Suicide bomb near Villa Somalia. Terror attack in Kismayo. 9/11 commemoration. And a girl was thrown from the 6th floor in Somalia. The Somali elections are close, and this month a historical deal has been signed between the Somali government and federal states, and that's why Dallo News has decided to do a Somali election process. This month comes part 1, and here comes the headlines. The Somali elections are close, and the Somali government, federal states and the mayor of Mogadishu has jointly signed the election model for the 2020-2021 elections. The system is a little half 4.5 and 1 man 1 vote. The electors will be elected in these elections by traditional elders, civil society leaders, and the state governments. The geographical areas that MPs represent will be created out of 2 or more cities from each federal state. Senators who sit in the upper house will be chosen by the regional legislators. 30% of the seats from across the country will be reserved for women. The term of the parliament is extended to November 27. The term of the president is not extended. The people of a chance to become a presidential candidate are former presidents Hassan Sheikh Mahmoud, Sheikh Sharif Ahmed,
the leader of the Wajadi party Abdurrahman Wassami, the former Prime Minister Hassan Ali Khader, the former Finance Minister Hussein Halani, and of course the current President Mohamed Abdullahi Farmajo. President Farmajo has also appointed a new temporary Prime Minister called Mohamed Hussein Roble. Somaliland's representatives will be selected in Mogadishu, but Somaliland has already said they are an independent country and not running in Somalia's elections. Next month is a part 2 of the Somalia election process report. A suicide bomb has exploded near Villa Somalia. At the same time, there was a conference between the federal government of Somalia and federal member states. A lot of people think Al-Shabaab wanted to get the talks down. And there was another Al-Shabaab attack happening, but this time in Kismayo, Somalia. A truck exploded at a mosque where Sharifi Rabbi Kanihi was. When he left the mosque, the bomb exploded. He himself was injured and died. Jubilant administration works with the Somali federal government to destroy Al-Shabaab. This month it was 19 years ago that 2 planes flew into New York's Twin Towers. The person behind this attack was Osama bin Laden. Osama has been shot in Afghanistan for almost 10 years ago. The men were including relatives of victims, Donald Trump and presidential candidate Joe Biden. In Mogadishu, a 90-year-old girl was raped and thrown from the 6th floor of an apartment. The girl was due to finish her college this year. Her death sparked many protests across Somalia to protect women and children. The people who raped her have been arrested. Yet this was not the first rape case. A few months ago, the Somali National Army raped a 12-year-old girl and her mother. Whenever the Somali federal government is really going to do something against rape is unknown. Today it will be 90 degrees and tomorrow it will be 24 to 29 degrees. Then this was Dallo News for this month. Next month we are back. Have a nice day. Hello, welcome to the Dallo News of October 2020, and here comes the headlines. Somalia election process part 2. Terror attack in France. And USA President Donald Trump and his wife Melania have had the coronavirus. The Somalia elections are coming. What they have achieved this month, you will see in this report. This month, not very much is happening in the Somalia election process. However, it has become clear who the presidential candidates are for the Hilal Garam party, former President Sheikh Sharif Sheikh Ahmed, for the Wajadi party Abdurrahman Abdishakur Wassami, former Prime Minister Hassan Ali Khader, and the current president that also controls the entire party, Mohamed Abdullahi Mohamed Farmajo. This month, presidential candidate Hassan Ali Khader visited Nairobi, Kenya to discuss his plans. Former President Hassan Sheikh Mahmoud is not running in this presidential election. This election will make Somalia the one-man-one vote system, but due to political chaos caused by the Somali federal government, it has not succeeded in doing the one-man-one vote system. It will be another variant of the undemocratic 4.5 clan system. Yet it is not yet clear when the parliamentary term will expire, neither is it clear exactly when elections will take place. Dallo News keeps an eye on it every month and will tell you when new plans are needed. Somali election process part 3 will come in December because of the US presidential election that are on November 3rd. This month, There was also tragic news. A terrorist shot dead a French teacher. According to experts, the French teacher showed a cartoon of the Prophet Muhammad, which is forbidden in Islam. A week later, there was another terror attack in France. A terrorist chopped the heads of a man and two women in a church. French President Macron has said Islam was responsible and said he protects the French teacher because what he did is freedom of speech. For that reason, Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan called for a boycott of all French products. This was followed by Qatar, Morocco, Iran, Turkey and some other countries. US President Donald Trump and his wife Melania Trump had contracted the deadly coronavirus this month, and that while Donald Trump often said that the coronavirus will go away soon, he and his wife are now better. In 2 days we will know who will be the new president of the United States. Will it stay Donald Trump or will it be Joe Biden? Dallo News of November will report on this. The Somalia election process part 3 is moved to December. And it has been 3 years since Somalia and the entire African continent had the worst terrorist attack in its history. Attacks keep coming in Mogadishu, but big as these 3 years ago should never happen again. Tomorrow will be about 29 to 28 degrees in Somalia. And this was Dallo News for this month. Have a nice day and see you next month. Hello and welcome to the Dallo News of November 2020. Here comes the headlines. USA presidential elections for 2020. Somalia's election. And the situation in Ethiopia's war. The most important election in the world is happening. But who is the new president of the United States? You will see in this report. It was very exciting, but now it's clear. Joe Biden will be the new president of the United States from January 2020. Donald Trump, who is now the president, said a few weeks ago that there was some fraud in the counting of the postal votes, but now he seems to accept his loss. But still he keeps saying that there was some fraud. But who's the president of the United States anyway? Joe Biden was born on November 20, 1942 in Scranton, Pennsylvania. He has a wife, 4 children and 5 grandchildren. He attended Archim Academy, Syracuse University and the University of Delaware. In the 1970s he entered politics. He was a senator until 2009. From 2009 he became vice president of former President Barack Obama from 2009 to 2017. After 2017, Joe Biden remained silent, but in April 2019, he announced that he would run in the elections of the United States. He became the presidential candidate for the Democrats from February 10, 2020. Because of the dangerous coronavirus, people did not want to vote in public buildings because they were afraid that they will get infected. Many people opted for postal voting. On November 3rd we should know, but because it took so long, because people voted by mail, it took at least 4 days for it to be clear. We finally heard it on November 7. Joe Biden won the election and here's a speech he gives.
Folks, the people of this nation have spoken. They've delivered us a clear victory, a convincing victory, a victory for we the people. We've won with the most votes ever cast on a presidential ticket in the history of the nation. 74 million. What I must admit has surprised me. Tonight, we're seeing all over this nation, all cities and all parts of the country, indeed across the world, an outpouring of joy, of hope, renewed faith in tomorrow, bring a better day. And I'm humbled by the trust and confidence you've placed in me. I pledge to be a president who seeks not to divide, but unify, who doesn't see red states and blue states, only sees the United States. And work with all my heart, with the confidence of the whole people, to win the confidence of all of you. And for that is what America, I believe, is about. It's about people. And that's what our administration will be all about. I sought this office to restore the soul of America, to rebuild the backbone of this nation, the middle class, and to make America respected around the world again.
Joe Biden will officially become President of the United States in January 2020. He would improve ties with Europe and punish Saudi Arabia for the death of Saudi journalist Jamal Khashoggi. Deals will also stop arms sales and military support to Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates due to the war in Yemen. In Somalia, it was also chaos. The Deputy Prime Minister said in a conference that the current President, Mohamed Abdullahi Farmajo, will be re-elected. It would happen in the first round of the election. Other presidential candidates challenged the current president. Elections will be in early February 2021. Many presidential candidates warned that they will boycott these elections because of illegal playing. In Ethiopia, a war started against the militia who are loyal to the state of Tigray. Tigray had power over its territory for years, but was conquered by the Ethiopia's army. Ethiopia's Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed said almost nothing about this, probably because he was awarded a Nobel Prize in 2019. This month there was shot at the Saudi embassy in The Hague, the third city in the Netherlands. The Dutch police are investigating who the perpetrators are. An attack is being carried out in Mogadishu. The deadly terror group Al-Shabaab al-Mujahideen claimed responsibility. The new president of the federal state of Ethiopia has been elected this month. Ali Abdullahi Hussein is the third president of the state. The Somali government has been accused of putting its favorite candidate in office. This month we also received good news. 3 companies have created a vaccine to stop the deadly coronavirus. Next month the vaccines will be looked at closely, and if they are really safe, they will be used next year. This was Dallo News for this month. Next month we will be back in another studio because we were renovating this studio. You will see more news next month. Have a nice day. Hello, welcome to the last Dallo News of of December 2020. Here comes the headlines. Somalia election process part 3. Israel's relation with the Gulf. A new coronavirus. And Somalia cut ties with Kenya. We are in this temporary studio because we will renovate the original studio. Somalia's election is coming closer. What they have achieved this month, you will see in this report. This month will be the month of the first elections. The parliament election is due to take place this month, but it has been postponed and it is not yet known when that will happen. Also, the phase that the presidential elections will be extended is something that the government of Mohamed Farmajo has long rejoiced. Many opposition supporters took to the streets in Mogadishu to protest against Farmajo, who they accuse of manipulating the elections to run illegal elections. The biggest problem is the ghetto crisis. 8 months ago, the Somali National Army, also known as SNA, recaptured the ghetto province from forces loyal to the Jubilant state leader Ahmed Mohamed Islam aka Ahmed Madurbe. They did it to increase the power of the Somali government in Mogadishu. In September, a big deal was made where the SNA troops had to leave for the elections, but nothing has been done about this. In fact, the Turkish government is now sending yet missiles and weapons against what they say is Kenyan occupation. Ahmed Madurbe has often warned that if SNA forces do not leave ghetto soon, Jubilant will not win in the elections, and even said they will run their own elections. The danger is that these two superpowers will fight each other and that Turkey will turn the Horn of Africa into a proxy war that might involve Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates. But the big problem is when will elections be held? That is very unclear because presidential elections will have to be held on Monday, February 8, 2021. But because the parliament was granted a second time, it is possible that presidential elections can be held around June, July 2021, and that would lead Somalia to a political war where it was 20 years ago. Next month, there will be no Somalia election report because of the new president, Joe Biden. Israel has relations with the Gulf? That was a question many people wondered. Israel had agreed a deal with the UAE and Bahrain in the White House last August. There were also rumors that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu had a secret meeting with Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. De Gaulle was once a supporter of the Palestinians and an opponent of Israel, but times has changed and the Palestinians has sided with Iran and Turkey. This month there was also something very strange going on in England. A new variant of the coronavirus has been found because it is so special. Also, we made an exception to make an extra report that is now coming. The new coronavirus is a copy of the current coronavirus, but this new coronavirus makes you less ill, but it is more contagious than the original virus. In England, where Dallo News is also located, all shops are closed. The country is in a lockdown, and here's the speech of Prime Minister of England, Boris Johnson.
Good afternoon. I want to update everyone on just one thing, which is what's been happening at our borders and especially at Dover. Last night at 11 p.m, the French government imposed restrictions on UK freight crossing to France when accompanied by a driver. And so today I chaired a meeting of the government's emergency COBRA committee in order to coordinate a UK-wide response. And it's vital first to stress that these delays, which are only occurring at Dover, only affect human-handled freight, and that is only 20% of the total arriving from or departing to the European continent, which means the vast majority of food, medicines and other supplies are coming and going as normal. You may also be aware, in fact I'd be amazed if you weren't, that the government has been preparing for a long time for exactly this kind of event. So working with the Kent Resilience Forum, Kent County Council and Highways England, we've activated our long prepared plans with the result that we've already been able to reduce the number of lorries waiting on the M20 from 500 to 170. The site at Manston Airfield is ready to cope with any overflow. And of course, we're working with our friends across the Channel to unblock the flow of trade as fast as possible. And the government at all levels is communicating with our friends in Paris. I've just spoken to President Macron. We had a very good call, and we both understand each other's positions and want to resolve these problems as fast as possible. And I know that Grant is also speaking to his counterpart.
Other countries have refused people from England because they are afraid it would come to their country too. Many people in England are sad because they cannot celebrate Christmas, which is a big disappointment. And this month the Somali government cut ties with Nairobi because of his opinion in Somali politics, especially in Jubaland, where Nairobi was accused of convincing the president of Jubaland state Ahmed Madebe not to participate in the elections and to increase the number of Jubaland troops to the area to retake Dallo province from Mogadishu's government. Kenya has denied these claims. In Germany, a man shot many people. How many people is unknown. The man has now been arrested by the police. In Western Europe, countries went into a hard lockdown to stop the coronavirus, but because there is now also a new variant that will remain for a long time. In Qatar, after 9 years of construction, 4 stations are ready, 3 more have to be built, but they are almost ready according to Qatar. The human rights organizations accused Qatar of allowing people to continue working with a bad stay and where people even die. Qatar denies this all. In Somalia it will be between 20 and 34 degrees. Well, this was the last Dallo news for this year. Next year we will be back, but then in the normal studio as you were used to do from us. Dallo Productions wishes a happy new year and healthy 2021. Bye! Hello and welcome to this first Dallo news of 2021. Here comes the headlines. USA new president inauguration. Somalia's election. England's lockdown. And Jubaland forces retake Dallo province. The new president, Joe Biden, has been inaugurated. But how was he inaugurated? You will see in this report. On Wednesday, January 2021, Joe Biden officially became the president of the United States. After 4 years of Trump leadership, it is Biden's turn. The new president has made many reforms. For example, that the US will join the Paris Climate Agreement again. He also lifted the travel ban of 7 countries. But a lot has happened from November to January 20. Donald Trump at first refused to recognize him as the new president. Also, there were a lot of corruption in some states, saying that the election was fraudulent and they would change some votes to Biden. But there was no evidence for this. Yet some states ran elections again, which were again won by Joe Biden, but Trump insisted the election was full of lies and corruption. On January 7 UK time, things went very wrong in Washington. Many supporters of Donald Trump stormed the Capitol, where Joe Biden was officially recognized as president by Parliament at the time. Donald Trump told his supporters the day before to storm the Capitol. However, the supporters of Trump took it very extreme, and later the UN warned that if Trump does not want to leave, they will make sure that he will leave. Donald Trump heals hand sorry, but many social media thinks this behavior of Trump goes too far and have Twitter, Instagram and Facebook Trump's official accounts banned. Many Americans hope that now that Joe Biden has become the new president of the United States, he will ensure that America will be reunited again after Trump divided it when he came to power in 2016. The current president's term only ends in a few days. This month it was really a hit. Djibouti agreed with Kenya on the Ghetto dispute, a clue that Somalia sees as treacherous. Somalia's information minister said that Djibouti has been liberated by Somalia, and that Kenya is in agreement is betrayal. When the elections will happen is still unclear. President Mohamed Farmajo has said on his Twitter account that there will be talks between the state and the government between 1 and 3 February. There is no new parliament yet to elect the new president, so it is still unclear how the vote will go. According to experts, there will be elections on February 8, 2021, but they will have a lot of corruption and will be illegal, so that Farmajo will stay for another 4 years. The opposition and 2 states have said they will not recognize the elections if only Mohamed Abdullahi Farmajo is the candidate. On February 9, there will be a Dallo News 60 seconds about who has become the new president of Somalia. England is going into a tough lockdown. This is due to a new variant of the new coronavirus called the British variant. At the end of this month, there was strong fighting in the ghetto region of Somalia. Jubilant army and troops loyal to the minister Abdirashid Janan. They tried to regain the town of Beled Hawa after Somali National Army, trained by Turkey, took over the area in March 2020. The Jubilant Army and Janan's militia were unable to reclaim Beled Hawa. The Somali government has taken Jubilant forces members to Mogadishu and put him in prison. Abdirashid Jana declared war against the SNA, a movement that the Jubilant government under Ahmed Madurbe supports. The Netherlands is the last country to start vaccination against the coronavirus. Many people have criticized because other countries has already started. Yoweri Museveni has been elected president for the 6th time. He has beaten former singer Bobi Wine. According to many people, Museveni has used the police and the military to make Bobi Wine more difficult to run a campaign. Israel is the first country in the world to lead the way in a vaccination against the coronavirus. But it is mainly the Palestinians who do not receive the vaccine. And it has been 30 years since Somalia went to war. While the war is not now being fought in major cities, it is still in the countryside. It will be about 26 to 29 degrees in Somalia. And this was the first Dallo News of 2021. We'll be back next month. Have a nice day. welcome to this podcast. Here are the headlines. Map 4 and Somalia election process part 4. Somalia's government's illegal and protest in Mogadishu. Somalia is in a crisis, but how to get about? You will see in this report. Somalia is embroiled into a political crisis, but how do we get to this? On February 1st, President Mohamed Farmajo invited all regional leaders to an election in Somalia, the capital of Galmudug. But this meeting turned into a failure. The most obstacle was Gedo. President Mohamed Farmajo had deployed the SNA in Gedo after Ahmed Madebe was re-elected as president of Jubaland state, much to the annoyance of Villa Somalia. There were no elections on February 8 and the opposition recognized the government as illegal. After it was exciting. Farmajo's government remained normal and the opposition wanted Farmajo out quickly and that he would not be re-elected. Farmajo then invited all regional leaders out for a meeting in Gedo, Puntland. But this was quickly rejected by the Puntland state government, who said the talks should be held in Mogadishu because all political leaders were there. Jubaland said the meeting would also be held in Mogadishu. The Somali government fears the Puntland and Jubaland leaders will visit opposition members and negotiate a deal together, and to prevent Villa Somalia from being held in Gedo. But it was not enforced because no elections were held. The Farmajo and Deni and Madebe have become heavy enemies. A secret conversation was held in Villa Somalia with Farmajo, the leaders of Hirshabelle, Southwest State, and Galmudug, and the mayor of Mogadishu. It is not clear what this conversation was about. The international community has urgently asked for the September 17 agreement to be fulfilled. Many people fear that the opposition and Villa Somalia will become so big enemies that they will fight with their militias and that Al-Shabaab could exploit this to carry out its own guerrilla attacks and that Somalia will fall back into a civil war just like 30 years ago. The Somali federal government is no longer recognized. For some, the opposition and Puntland recognized the government and President Mohamed Farmajo as illegal. For the time being, there is no way in Somalia for elections if the government and opposition do not want to talk to each other. But the opposition did not accept the election. They went on Friday, February 19, 2021 to protest against the government for delaying the elections. The Somali government has imposed a ban on demonstrations due to the rising of the coronavirus. But the opposition did not listen and left the airport road to protest. The Somali government reacted with violence, and the safest road from Mogadishu turned into a war zone. Take a look. The day before, the former president Sharif and Mahmoud were held in a hotel next to Villa Somalia. An attack has been committed next to the parliament in Mogadishu. The deadly coronavirus is rising in Somalia, and Harry and Meghan will never return to the UK's royal family. It will be 21 to 24 degrees Celsius in Somalia. And this was the news of this month. Next month we will be back. Have a nice day. Here are the headlines. Somalia and Kenya at court. Ali Mahdi has died. A tuk-tuk has exploded in Mogadishu. Harry and Meghan are unhappy. And an extra headline after short news. Somalia has a lawsuit against Kenya. But what about that? You will see in this report. After 7 years of delays, it is finally time. The maritime border between Somalia and Kenya is underway. But it is all happening in the International Court of Justice. But how did it all come about? In 2009, Kenya was interested in the southeastern waters of Somalia. According to experts, there were valuable resources such as oil, gas and green energy. Kenya knew this would make their country immediately rich, and so they entered Somalia in 2011. They helped the Wascambuni militia under General Ahmed Mohammed Islam Madube to liberate Kismayo and other towns and villages in Lower Juba that were under control of Al-Qaeda Al-Shabaab. In 2013, the new internationally recognized government under Hassan Sheikh Mahmoud attempted to negotiate with Kenya, but as this failed, Somalia took Kenya to the ICJ's International Court of Justice. Now we want to return to the negotiation table, but Mogadishu said the talks has already failed. Kenya has postponed the case several times, including in June 2020. When the ICJ wanted to resume the case in March 2021, Nairobi wanted it to be moved to April 2022. Mogadishu rejected this application, and Madi Gulet and his team are in the heart where the ICJ is located. Kenya has not presented on this case because it says the ICJ leaders are propaganda tools of Somalia. It is unclear when the outcome will be, but Somalis around the world are convinced that they will win this case. Former President Ali Mahdi passed away on March 10, 2021. He died of a deadly infection from the dangerous coronavirus. After his death in Nairobi, his body was taken back to Aden Abdullah International Airport in Mogadishu. There the president offered the government and opposition members a final prayer to Ali Mahdi. What was strange was that Mahdi did not handshake with opposition members. He is buried in Villa Somalia. A tuk-tuk exploded at a Yemeni restaurant. Al-Shabaab al-Mujahideen served the responsibility in itself. Harry and Meghan were very furious. That's because she shared in an interview, in a television interview, that the British royal family made racist remarks towards their son. They have declared that they will never return to the British royal family. Queen Elizabeth was very sad about it, and there is an investigation of how this could happen. Somali President Mohamed Abdullahi Farmajo has been vaccinated against COVID-19. Jubilant Security Minister Abdirashad Janan has been fired by Jubilant President Ahmed Mohamed Islam Ahmed Madurbe. And a Dutch TV program broadcasted naked men and women for children. And a Dutch rapper has been arrested by the Dutch police. He would ask a boy to show his genitals for 17,000 euros. The boy eventually did. Bilal Wahib would say this was a joke, but his entire career is now gone forever. There's now not a temporary weather report in Somalia. And this was Dallo News for this month. We will be back next month. Have a nice day. Hello and welcome to this broadcast. Here are the headlines. Somalia in crisis? Prince Philip has passed away. Qatar Airways? And a fight at Mogadishu airport. Somalia is on the brink of a second civil war, but how did it come about? You will see in this report. The return of civil war now seems a possible reality, but how comes this peaceful electoral argument turned into a brawl? On April 12, 2021, former President Mohamed Farmajo extended his term for another 2 years. He said the count was necessary to run the first one-person vote elections in 54 years. This was approved by the lower house, but not all representatives were present. The MPs opposed to this proposal were not allowed into the parliament building, which made it easy for Farmajo to extend his term. After proposal, leaders of Puntland and Jubilant went back to Kismayo and Dallo because there would no be elections. After this, more and more people started to resist in Mogadishu, even in Villa Somalia. On Sunday 25, 2021, at around 9 p.m. UK time, many people got scared. Troops and militias loyal to the former President Mohamed Farmajo, and majority of the SNA, police and militias loyal to the opposition clashed in northern Mogadishu. Farmajo militias disrupted a peaceful protest against his regime in Yakhshi district in northern Mogadishu. They murdered civilians and they started to attack them. Fierce fighting was in the sight of many government installations in the neighborhoods of Yakhshi, Horan and Wabihele. The next day, on Monday, April 26, many people fled in areas where there is heavy fighting, mainly to Afgoy and Balad. Regional states like Galmudug and Hisabella and Southwest State has rejected the term extension, which is very special as these three administrations are deeply loyal to Villa Somalia. Prime Minister Mohamed Hussein Roble has also rejected the term extension, which is a blow to Farmajo. On Tuesday, April 27, 2021, Farmajo told Somali national television that he rejected the term and says he wants to go back to the negotiation table. But many leaders no longer trust him, and Puntland boycotted Farmajo's announcement. Many people agree that if Farmajo will not resign, that the civil war can come back to Somalia, and that Somalia will be forever be divided between the clans trying to get their own territorium. Prince Philip passed away. He turned 90 years old. We Dallo News wishes Queen Elizabeth II and her family get well soon. Flying. It seems almost impossible, but the experiment turns out the lighter way. Qatar Airways was the first airline company to have only people fully vaccinated with the COVID-19 vaccine. Many came by invitation, including YouTuber Sam Chow. Until now you could only fly with a negative corona test. But if the vaccinated flights are imported by Qatar Airways, the crew will not be able to wear protective suits, only a face mask and possibly clothes. As immunity has not yet been achieved, as only 32% of the world's population has been vaccinated with the corona vaccine. Many people see this experiment as a sign of freedom and the return of normal aviation that suffered a lot thanks to COVID-19. This month they were fighting at Aden Abdullah Airport in Mogadishu. Members of the National Intelligence Security Agency, or NISA, have attacked the airport and continue to harass people. See here. Emirates Airline of the UAE also experiment with fully vaccinated people. This time, all people living in the UAE are fully vaccinated were allowed to enter the plane. Somaliland President Musa Bihi Abdi accused Mohamed Farmajo of endangering the stability of Somalia. He said that Farmajo must resign immediately. And Djibouti chose Guella for the 5th time. Many people are angry and think that Guella will stay in power forever, as Djibouti has only had 2 presidents. In northern Somalia it will be 28 degrees and in the south it will be 32 degrees. This was Dallo News for this month. Next month we will be back with maybe something new. Have a nice day. Always we start with the headlines. The conflict between Israel and Palestine. always, we start with the headlines. The conflict between Israel and Palestine. Somalia election process. Somaliland independence. And India's corona crisis. First, Eid Mubarak everyone. The conflict between Israel and Palestine has been going on for decades. But how did it happen? You can see in this report. Is he still coming? No? Should I continue with the next headline then? But what actually happened to the Israel-Palestine report? Never made? Can I explain about something about the Israel and Palestine conflict? Okay. Well, the Israel and Palestine report isn't. I'm sorry, but I could tell you something. Israel and Palestine, previously it was all of Israel was Palestine territory, but in 1948 Israel declared their own independent state of Israel with the help of the British. But the Palestine did not happen, same with the Arab brothers, they started a war on Israel in 1967. But still the Americans and the West supported it. Somalia has a new election argument. According to the May 27 agreement, Somalia will withdraw its troops from the Ghetto region. Something Jubilant State President, Medina President Ahmed Mohamed Islam de Al-Haf, wanted to trade in for Medina to hold elections in August 2021 this year. Other things such as Somaliland has also been resolved. But Somaliland is absolutely not part of this banana republic, says President Musa Bihi Abdi. But because we are talking about Somaliland, Somaliland has turned 30 years old. But what is actually the history of Somaliland? You can see it in this report. But actually this was an extra report, but because the other one has not even come, this has become the headline. But take a good look. Somaliland has been an independent country for 30 years. But what is the total history of Somaliland? In the 19th century, the then Somali Empire was divided into 5 parts: Djibouti, Ogaden, NFD, Somaliland and Somalia. The British wanted to move northwest towards the east of the country. They call it British Somaliland. On June 26, 1960, British Somaliland gained independence from the British colonial empire, recognized by China, Egypt, Ethiopia, France, Ghana, Israel, Libya and the Soviet Union. On July 1, 1960, the state of Somaliland united with the territory of Somaliland to form the Somali Republic. But this union soon ended because the colonial master still has control over Somali politics, which made it difficult for the two regions to unite. In 1961, the Somalilanders opposed a new constitution that placed control of Somalia's economic and political interest under the South. This was a major blow to the Somalilanders, who wanted to keep the original United Nations constitution. On October 15, 1969, Somali President Abdirashid Ali Shamarke was killed by his own bodyguards. This shocked the whole country, including the Northwest. On October 29, 1969, the military went on overthrow the Western Somali weak democratic government. They installed a colonel named Mohammed Siad Barre. Barre nationalized the economy, banished political parties, power from parliament was transferred to the president, and all the people in the old government were arrested. The Somali Republic was replaced by the Somali Democratic Republic. In 1982, the Sheikhs founded the Somali National Movement, the SNM. In 1988, SNM controlled major cities in the northwest including Hargeisa, Berbera, Burao and other mini-villages. The Mogadishu regime responded with brute force and launched a military operation in Hargeisa. The regime killed everyone in Hargeisa and Berbera, including people who have nothing to do with the SNM. Many Ishaqs fled to Ethiopia, to camps in the Ogaden region, a region that was also destroyed at the war in the 1960s and 70s. The West responded saying that it was war crimes and sanctions to the Mogadishu regime. In 1991, the SNM managed to convince all clan militias to join in to overthrow the regime. It worked, and Bara fled to Kenya. His bodyguards left blood at the presidential palace. After months of war, the SNM was able to fully control northwestern Somalia and on May 18, 1991, declared the Republic of Somaliland. But many people accused the SNM of murdering innocent people. After 30 years, Somaliland is its own state, but still not recognized. Somalia still refuses to recognize Somaliland as an independent state, saying it will also separate other regions in Somalia, including Puntland, Jubaland, Galmudug and others. The UAE made an attempt to recognize Somaliland in 2018, but was afraid of the consequences. But they do recognize Somaliland's passport, and those passport holders can reach the UAE without a visa. Many people and organizations are concerned about the press freedom in Somaliland. Somaliland kicks off with parliamentary elections this month and presidential elections in the autumn. Many people are proud that the Somalilanders have something to say in their country, something Somalia can learn. But if Somalia recognizes Somaliland, Somaliland's own regions such as Sul, Sanaa, Adwal and Ain will separate from Somaliland and join Somalia again, and if that happens, the question is whether Somaliland will really become an independent country. India has a terrible thing. A new variant of the dangerous lung virus, COVID-19, has emerged. A variant that is very deadly and more contagious than the British variant or the even more deadlier African variant. This variant has already been spread to our country, the United Kingdom. But because we have the best vaccination strategy after Israel and the United Arab Emirates, the UAE, we managed to contain it. No short news this month, and the weather, I'm sorry. And this was Dallo News. Next month we'll be back, but with a special on Sunday, June 20, 2021, to celebrate the 1-year anniversary of Dallo Productions. Have a nice day. Having a visit from the Qatar ambassador to Mogadishu, who wanted to talk with Ahmed Madobe about the fact that the federal government in Mogadishu said that Madobe has a 2-year term instead of 4 years. Here's a short report.
Ahmed Madobe and the Qatar ambassador to Somalia, Hassan bin Hamza Asad Mohammed, has met in Jubaland's capital Kismayo. It were talks about the economy of Jubaland, the federal government in Mogadishu, and of course UAE's plan to build a new Kismayo. Somalia's President Mohamed Abdullahi Farmajo has said Ahmed Madobe is an interim president of Jubaland of 2 years. Ahmed says it is illegally to do this and says that he will be president of Jubaland until December 2023.
And then brief news. Somalia's President Mohamed Abdullahi Farmajo met Somaliland's President Musa Bihi Abdi for the second time in the Djiboutian's capital, Djibouti. The two leaders had already met in Addis Ababa in February this year, but this time it was more about the relationship between the two nations. And Somalia needs to talk to the federal member states. America has pressured the Mogadishu government to accept everyone, which is why the federal government in Mogadishu has recognized Ahmed Madobe as interim jubilant president after months. The ceremony will be held today, said Puntland President Said Deni, unclear whether this will be continued or not. Well, this was Dallo News. Next month we will be there again, but with more news. A good day.
Shiba, onmogelijk te weerstaan.